afternoon and welcome to the 4 p.m. update for this very dynamic storm. We've been tracking this whole storm across the entire day. We've had a ton of crews both in the studio and outside. Some of us, Ryan's got the umbrella out, so we must be seeing some freezing rain out there. We will check in with everyone both outside and in a couple of minutes. But first, we're going to take a look at the radar and kind of really get a look at that forecast. So we've been watching the precip really start to fill in, even in the past maybe 15 to 20 minutes. If you're looking along the immediate coastline, we've started to see some changes in the precipitation. The sleet actually was coming down in Portland so hard that we could hear it on the newsroom window. So I know it's showing snow right there, but sometimes the radar gets a little bit confused when the precip types are right on the edge. So it is sleeting in Portland, and it actually looks like we might even be seeing some plain rain in an area like Portsmouth, York, or Kittery. If there's anyone down in those areas, please send a report. We would love to know what kind of precipitation type we'd be seeing there. Similarly, if you're in the mid-coast region, it looks like right near, like just south of Wiscasset, near Booth Bay, we are starting to see some of that freezing rain. We've been kind of alluding to it all day that we would have that chance along the immediate coastline to see some of that freezing rain. So if you're in this area as well, please let us know if you're seeing plain rain, freezing rain, or sleet, or snow, but I don't think you would be. So yeah, we just talked about where we could see some of that plain rain. We're kind of right along the edge there. I think Portsmouth is about 34, 35 degrees, so that's why they're able to get some of that plain rain there. We've also been watching some transitions from snow to sleet in an area like Bangor. It's been happening for the past 2 hours or so, but the radar is finally catching up to it that we are seeing sleet in those areas. Still some pretty heavy snow throughout areas of northern Maine, especially near Lincoln and Danforth, and areas of northern Maine aren't expected to change over into any other type of precipitation, so that's why they'll be able to see the highest snowfall totals at the end of the day. But if you've been wondering when this storm is going to finally end, we still have several more hours of precip to go. Take a look at areas of southern New England or back into New York. We still have a lot of precip to contend with here. There's a lot of moisture in this system, and it's very dynamic. Something that we are going to be watching, especially now that we have seen a few areas switch over into freezing rain, is that area of freezing rain right in southern New Hampshire, northern Massachusetts. We'll be watching that as it gets a little bit closer to us because that's the precipitation type that we want to avoid if possible. There's a lot going on with this storm. It stretches all the way down into areas of West Virginia and Pennsylvania, so that means we still have several hours of precip left to go. Visibility across the state today has been pretty low. Most of us have seen visibility maybe a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile, 1 mile of visibility right now in Bangor. So if you do have to be out right now, just keep in mind that both the precipitation and the fog that's hanging around has really been hampering visibility really all day. And if you've been with us for most of the day, take a look. Portland has finally dropped below 22 degrees. It was there all day. We've dropped down to 21. And you might be wondering, why are we talking about all these different precipitation types if our temperatures are so cold in the upper teens, lower 20s? That's because your precipitation type is determined by the temperature of the air aloft or above the ground, not necessarily at the surface. For example, snow is very easy. It starts up in the cloud as snow, falls into a column of air that remains cold the entire way to the ground, so we start and end as snow. Pretty simple. But that's when things get a little bit tricky with sleet and freezing rain. For example, sleet starts out as snow, but then it enters this area of warmer air above the ground, and it's able to melt, but then it refreezes before it hits the ground. And usually it doesn't actually refreeze into a snowflake, it refreezes into these ice pellets. You can hear them pinging around. It kind of sounds like someone's throwing rocks or throwing pebbles. And then freezing rain is the peskiest type of precipitation because it starts out as snow, but then is able to melt completely into rain. But there's a very, very shallow area of cold air right above the ground, and the actual surfaces at the ground are below freezing, which means that that rain then freezes on contact and it clings to surfaces like a layer of paint, which means it's also fairly deceptive because it looks like regular rain, but it actually freezes on surfaces. So we've been tracking this system all day. We are expecting that area of mixed precipitation to continue to push farther inland as far north as areas in the foothills, even areas like south of Millinocket, and that precipitation will continue to last essentially all night. Looking at about 10 p.m., there actually is a good chance on the back end of this system that we actually bring in some colder air aloft, meaning we could transition into some more snow through areas like the southern coast and the mid-coast as this system departs. It will exit from west to east across the state. Could see a couple of snow showers left over as we get into the first half of the day Monday. Most of those would be away from the coastline. In general, if you kind of have switched over into more of that mixed precipitation, you likely won't pick up that much more snow, in total 3 to 6 closer to the coastline there, but in areas of the northern mountains especially and up in the county where they won't change over to any other precipitation type, some areas could see upwards of a foot. We actually haven't gotten a ton of reports in areas of eastern Maine, so if you're watching Channel 2 right now, send in some of those reports either to our Facebook pages or send them into the Near Me section of our app. That would really help us and kind of get some more of those reports from both sides of the state here. We're also watching that ice accretion. Most of that would be in the southern 2/3 of the state here. Looking at more sleet overall, but along the immediate coastline is where we could get some freezing rain. Keep in mind, just a little bit of ice can cause those power outages. I also wouldn't be surprised if we saw a decent amount of outages tomorrow. The reason for that is because we have a lot of heavy snow or the sleet and the ice, and the wind gusts tomorrow will be upwards of 45, even up to 60 miles an hour in some spots. The National Weather Service has already issued a wind advisory for the western half of the state. So if you do have to do some cleanup for tomorrow, it might be a little bit tricky because of the ice and because of those high winds.